Here I am in my studio. Just got this new mic stand, but you know what I love more than mic stands? Green screens.
New, interesting, random, tall guy films.
So hello and welcome to my studio. This is quite a bit more of it than you're probably used to seeing, and also there's a green sheet behind me, not a white background, so it's a little bit different from what you're used to. But the whole point of that is that today we are doing a studio tour, basically. So in this, I'm just going to cover my camera setup, my lighting setup that I've got here, and my audio equipment, so nothing too fancy. But let's start out by talking about the lighting. So first off, you can see behind me, I've got this green screen. This is just a typical fold-out green screen. They're super cheap on Amazon, like 40 bucks. And this one is super handy because it's got green on this side, but if you flip it over, it's actually got blue on the other side. So for example, if I was wearing a green shirt, I could flip it around, use the other side. Super handy, super cheap, and great to have in a studio like this where I don't have as much space to set up an actual set. Now lighting that, I have two clamp lights you can see right here. These are just basic like $5 clamp lights from Home Depot or Lowe's or any other hardware store. And in them they have 5000 Kelvin daylight balanced LED bulbs. LED bulbs are super great, super nice. I really like the look of bluer light, so super great. And those are only lighting the green screen. So that way, if I was standing back here, if these were lighting me as well, you could see you'd end up with some shadows on the green screen. So those are only lighting the green screen. Now, lighting me, I've got two lights. Right over here, I have another lamp with the same 5000 Kelvin LED bulb. And then for my key light over here, I have a Viltrox super cheap Amazon LED light, which is also balanced to 5000 Kelvin. And then my light, or my camera, excuse me, is obviously balanced to 5000 Kelvin as well. So quite a bit of light in here, all daylight balanced, 5000 Kelvin. I would get better results in terms of skin tones with tungsten lights, but I prefer, for these type of videos, the look of daylight balanced bulbs. So that is my lighting setup, nothing too fancy. All of my lights, these two are just on super cheap, like $10 light stands, again from Amazon. And then my LED panel is currently on my Manfrotto portable tripod, but I'm planning to get a light stand for that, so that is not a permanent setup, but I'm just using these super cheap light stands. So moving on to audio, I've got three audio systems on me right now. Now for a long time I was using this Aperture a.lav, which is hooked up to this Zoom H2n field recorder. It's really nice, and especially for videos like this where I'm kind of moving around, it's great to be able to pick up the audio. But I found that the audio quality from it isn't super great. So recently I've moved over to recording with this Rode NTG1 shotgun microphone, and this guy is on just another generic Amazon mic stand running XLR cable into my Tascam DR60D Mark II. The reason I'm recording on that is because the NTG1 requires phantom power, so it's running off of that. Now, because the NTG1 is further away from me when it's recording, it's more susceptible to background noise. However, there isn't really any background noise in here, and it is a much higher quality mic, and I found that it picks up my voice a lot better than this Aperture lavalier does. So I've switched over to the NTG1. It does have a little bit more reverb, but overall I like the audio quality of it. Now the third thing I've got recording me is a Rode Video Micro, which is just attached to my G7. Audio quality from that, terrible. I don't use it. That's just to sync the audio. Since the Video Micro is a little bit more directional, it's a little bit easier to sync when I'm recording audio with that rather than just the G7's internals. Now recording me right now is my Lumix G7. Right now it's recording 4K, but I occasionally switch to 1080p depending on the video content. And right now it's got the Lumix 12 to 32 millimeter lens on there at 12 millimeters, so it's pretty wide. Normally I use my 25 millimeter f1.7. That gets a nice tight field of view, and also with the f1.7 aperture, it gets me in focus, but it's able to blur the background just a little bit, and the blurred background makes the keying the green screen a little bit easier. So a little bit tighter field of view and quite a bit better in terms of sharpness, overall image quality, even wide open. So it's a much better lens. I'm just using the 12-32 this time just to get a little bit wider field of view so you can see some of the stuff around me and get an idea of what my studio setup looks like. But the 25mm is much sharper, much better image, quite a bit tighter, so I really like using that lens for the vast majority of my stuff. Now that camera is sitting on a VPH20 head, which is on my big set of tripod sticks, which I've done a video on. And then also I have a Nexus 7 tablet, which for videos which are scripted, I use that as a teleprompter basically. So just to read off of, and then I also have a Bluetooth keyboard that I can use to control that in case I need to pause it or go back or change the speed or anything like that. And then lastly, controlling my G7, I've got my iPhone right here. This is hooked up with the Lumix app, but normally I use that just to start recording to set focus before I start recording, because with the 25mm f1.7 it has a really shallow depth of field, so you really have to nail the focus or it's going to look really bad. So I use that app to make sure that I get the focus right, and just for easier controls for setting exposure and all of that stuff. So that is it for my setup. It's really nothing too fancy. I'm still tweaking it. I'm considering alternative options for the background because I'm not a big fan of the white, infinite white background necessarily, so I'm looking at some tweaks with that. Also a few improvements to the lighting, need a new light stand, stuff like that. But anyway, this is where it's at right now. I'm constantly trying to improve it, trying to figure out new ways to do things better, but that is what it looks like right now. So that is it for this video. If you like this video, hit the like button. If not, feel free to hit the dislike button. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below. If you have any interest in any of the things that I have shown you in this video, I will link all of them down in the description so you can find them easily. And lastly, if you want to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button.